Welcome back to Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller. Today's film is one of the most important movies in the development of film noir, which certainly wasn't the intention of the studio that made it. I'm not entirely sure Paramount Pictures knew what it was doing when it made this adaptation of Graham Greene's 1936 novel, A Gun for Sale, retitled for American readers and moviegoers, This Gun for Hire, and released in the spring of 1942. On the movie's iconic poster, you'll notice top billing goes to Veronica Lake and Robert Preston, evidence the studio was not fully prepared for the impact its fourth-billed co-star would have on the American public. Alan Ladd had been a bit player before this film, but his performance as taciturn assassin Philip Raven would shoot him to stardom and bring an even deadlier edge to big-screen anti-heroes. Robert Preston's lawman may represent the film's moral center. He's a federal agent tracking fascist fifth columnists in California. But frankly, audiences couldn't have cared less about that mundane character. It was Ladd's performance as a psychically and physically scarred hitman, utterly sick of the human race, that earned the audience's empathy. Veronica Lake was already a rising star, having made a vivid impression in I Wanted Wings and Sullivan's Travels, where her iconic fall was already being caricatured in the film's advertising. But her chemistry with Alan Ladd was something new on movie screens. They were like male and female sides of the same coin. She had a feminine insouciance that mixed well with Ladd's masculine insolence. They'd become a new kind of screen team, lacking the warmth and good humor of William Powell and Myrna Loy, and instead radiating a cold self-reliance that resonated with people having to muster their own resolve during wartime.
Take it easy. What's Gates got against you?
Saw us on the train. Thinks I'm your girl.
While Ladd and Lake hold the center of the frame, the film also builds up a surprisingly bleak view of the world, given that Hollywood was duty-bound to reassure audiences during another world war. There aren't many innocent characters in Graham Greene's world. It's a place where innocents confront bad people, worse people, and outright evil people. When an assassin is the honorable man in the story, and the most handsome, well, this was definitely something new for Hollywood. Now, a lot of credit for the success of the picture and the creation of Alan Ladd has to go to Ladd's wife, Sue Carroll, who was also his agent. She'd arranged him a screen test for this film at Paramount, but the studio wanted to dye his hair black because, well, you know, bad guys have black hair, right? But Carroll insisted that he be tested opposite Lake with his own blonde hair, and the visual alchemy was immediately apparent. Now, even though Paramount still darkened his hair for the film. This also led to a significant change from the novel, in which Raven's anger and alienation is fueled by his face being disfigured, by his mother. Oh yeah, there's a big Freudian element to the story. In the movie, however, it's Raven's wrist that's deformed. No way was Paramount going to mess up Ladd's perfectly modeled mug. Now, adapting the book to the screen were two writers, W.R. Burnett, the noted author of Little Caesar and High Sierra, and Albert Maltz, a New York playwright getting his first screenplay credit. They stick with the novel's characters and plot, but the book's geopolitical backdrop was entirely changed, since the action was shifted from England to California. In the novel, Raven is hired by a munitions manufacturer to kill a British minister in Czechoslovakia, thereby hastening the war, just so the profiteering villain, Sir Marcus, will become an even richer man. Now, when Raven is paid with counterfeit money, he vows revenge on his employer, one lonely man against a malevolent industrial giant. Now, most of the book takes place in a fictionalized but spot-on version of the British steel town Nottingham, and the dark clouds of the coming war fill every page. Although Greene considered the book one of his entertainments, as opposed to his serious literature, the novel is a bitter and astute rumination on the business of killing. Well, Paramount lightened things up. The villains here are so goofy as to be laughable, and Veronica Lake's character isn't a chorus girl like in the novel, but a singing magician, sporting eye-popping costumes designed by Edith Head to make the 4'11" actress seem taller. Frank Tuttle was a director who did comedies and dramas in equal measure, and here he shifts between the two, not uncommon for Paramount B Pictures, which threw everything into the mix. The one person on the crew who completely tuned into the darkness of the source material is cinematographer John F. Seitz, brilliantly evoking the shadowy margins where Raven is forced to scurry and hide. Seitz brought the atmosphere and Ladd the attitude. Both would help spur the rise of film noir. Now, Paramount may not have intended to spark a trend, but with adaptations of some of the most important crime fiction of the 30s, this film, Dashiell Hammett's The Glass Key, tailored for Ladd and Lake the same year, and James M. Cain's Double Indemnity in 1943, Paramount was the studio that, during the war, lit the noir fuse. It would explode in 1946 into a full-fledged movement. Co-starring the fantastic Laird Cregar as adipose epicure Willard Gates, here is the original hitman as anti-hero story, a first of its kind. This Gun for Hire.